Welcome to Sports Talk NYC. If you missed the introduction, there are a whole bunch of sports I'm going to talk about, wrestling included. I've been a fan now for 15 years, and it's going to be talked about a lot. It's going to be featured a lot on this site, so let's get into it. So, it's Monday. It's not just any Monday, though. It is the Monday after a pay per view, a WWE pay per view. Last night was No Way Out, and I'm gonna go through it, review it, and try to be as honest as possible. I promise. All right, so let's get into it. For those who are wrestling fans and who aren't wrestling fans, you know that the WWE has definitely changed over the years. Their product is definitely geared less towards wrestling fans and more towards business. And obviously, from a business standpoint, it's what excuse me, it's what had to be done. It in order to keep the fans around. It's not really what wrestling fans are used to seeing, and we definitely don't like it. But it's what's happening, and it's not going anywhere. The WWE is staying. It's going to be around, and it's going to stay as the product it is. I don't see it changing anytime soon. With that said, it's it's definitely regressing. It's not progressing at all. Um, there's nothing good is coming out of what's happening in the WWE. And you could see it at No Way Out. You could definitely see that things aren't going so well there in terms of writing, in terms of the wrestlers themselves. There's not a lot into it. My first problem with No Way Out really lies in the booking. Once again, the World Heavyweight Championship match opened up the show, and for me, I'm not a big fan of that. I don't think a World Heavyweight Championship match should be starting out a pay per view. That's just point blank. I could see maybe why it would happen at WrestleMania, but I don't see why they'd make a habit of it. Opening matches are supposed to set the trend for the rest of the night. So when you have a guy like Sheamus and Ziggler, obviously you have two good wrestlers who can set the tone for the rest of the night. However, it is still a World Heavyweight Championship match, and that's where things go wrong. You don't go to a boxing match to see a Floyd Mayweather fight. You don't go to see him box first. He is the main event. He is the champion. It's he's the main event. And while obviously Sheamus and Ziggler are not Floyd Mayweather, they should still not be opening up. The WWE has other titles that they can open the show up with. Uh, Maybe the Intercontinental Championship or the United States Championship, the Divas Championship for all we care. But World Heavyweight Championship match as the first match, only to be followed by crap matches afterwards. And I have to say crap because that's what they mostly are. So for that belt to be followed by matches that aren't that great, it takes away from a lot. So Sheamus and Ziggler did have a good match. They work together very well. Their styles collide very well. Sheamus he's a great wrestler, good wrestler, not a great wrestler. He's a good wrestler, good brawler, good bruiser. Ziggler's a good wrestler. He sells. It's a well known fact that he sells getting hit very well, and it's one of those things where at this point people are calling for Ziggler to be world champion over Sheamus holding on to the belt. Sheamus isn't getting that over reception that he should probably be getting as the world heavyweight champion. People acknowledge him. People know that he's a champ, and people they like that he's a champ. But they also know that Ziggler should probably be the champ. He deserves it a little bit more. He's been working very hard. He's been put in every possible feud. He's been working his way from bottom to middle to top. He's followed the rules. He's followed the steps. It's his time. Now, SummerSlam, WWE's summer pay-per-view, the big one, is coming up in August. and they have the groundwork laid out to have a good SummerSlam. They have a chance to put the titles where they need to be. They have a chance to have the wrestlers, get their moment. But I don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening. Ziggler should be world champ, and for the moment, for now, he's not. Going down the list of match orders here, Santino versus Ricardo Rodriguez. Once again, it's one of those moments where you look at it and you go, why? You look at Santino, he's the U.S. champion, and that's a belt with some prestige behind it, and yet it's being belittled to this. I don't even know what to call it. I mean, Santino is not a good wrestler. We know that. He's mostly there for comedic relief. But why would you put a title on a guy who's just comedic relief? He's comic relief. And he's very over with the crowd. I get it. He's very over with the crowd. Fan favorite. Very funny guy. Even myself as an adult male, I find him really funny. However, he shouldn't have a belt. There are other people on the roster that deserve at least a U.S. title shot, let alone holding the belt. And yet it's being used up by Santino. And that's not technically his fault. Obviously, the company sets who does what. So they felt Santino needs a little run with the title. I'm a little okay with it, but at the moment, there needs to be more done. Next match was Christian versus Cody Rhodes, the Intercontinental Championship match. A very good match. Obviously, Christian and Cody Rhodes are great wrestlers, great characters, great with the mic, and do very well in a feud together. Obviously, Christian is one of the best with mic work, with feuds. There aren't too many people out there better than Christian in that aspect. At the same time, you look at Cody Rhodes and you wonder what's going to happen with him. Obviously, Rhodes had a lengthy title run, a very good title run that we all acknowledge that brought some prestige back to the IC title. Now it's his time to move up. I think it's his time to get to the World Heavyweight Championship status, a main event status. If not on SmackDown, then at least on Raw, somewhere. He has to be in the main event status. And right now, I feel like he's being held back in the mid-card. Because Christian has the belt, and he does not need to get over. He's over with the fans. That's a clear as day. But he's stuck in the mid-card. And I'm kind of wondering what happens next to Cody Rhodes. Obviously, you have Ziggler and Sheamus in the title picture for the World Heavyweight Championship, and that feud is probably not going away. Do they throw Rhodes in, as they've done with Kane on the Raw side of things? Do they, end the feud between Ziggler and Sheamus somehow? It's a very weird situation that they've put themselves in, because everybody wants to see Rhodes in the main event. But right now, he's kind of stuck. Going further, there was a Fatal 4-Way tag team match, 4 different teams tag team match, with teams that have been around for a little while, but for the most part seem to be randomly thrown together. Primo and Epico have been together for a few months now. They wrestle fine together. Justin Gabriel and Tyson Kidd, very random pairing. I know they've been wrestling together, I believe, on house shows and NXT and whatnot. Still kind of random. Darren Young and Titus O'Neil have been wrestling together on NXT, and once again, a little bit random. It seems like the WWE are trying to rebuild their tag team division by randomly throwing together wrestlers that they don't know what to do with. So you see with Kofi Kingston and Evan Bourne, you see with Kofi Kingston and R-Truth. It's just these random pairings, and they think that that's how you build a tag team division. But it's teams that have stuck together for a long time and actually look like tag teams that do very well together. The Usos, for instance, are a tag team that have been together for a year or two. They've been together since they came to the WWE. And it's something that the WWE lacks. They have singles competitors, but they don't have tag teams. And you can't just put them together hoping that they're gonna mesh. It's not always the case. So Darren Young and Titus O'Neil end up winning that, and now they're going to have their shot at the Tag Team Champions somewhere down the road. Now, I'm not sure what's going to happen with Kofi Kingston and R-Truth at this point. Obviously, Kingston took on the Big Show on the last Monday Night Raw. He was featured in No Way Out, as I'll talk about later. And honestly, that tag team division is such a mess that I don't know what's going on. I don't know what they plan to do with it. I don't know what they're going to do. Moving on, this video is going to be broken up into two parts. There's a 15-minute time limit on my YouTube videos, which is about 5 Divas matches. So I've got some time here. The last thing I want to touch on in this part 1 of the No Way Out review is the Triple H, Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman saga. I feel like that's the most useless storyline that the WWE has going on many levels, really. Obviously, they have a problem with their roster as it stands. I say that because if they didn't have a problem with the wrestlers on their roster, they wouldn't rehash these old wrestlers. They wouldn't bring back Brock Lesnar for no apparent reason, apparently. What it seems like. And Triple H, he's in a management role now. He doesn't have to wrestle. And yet they're continuously going to put him in this position to wrestle because they don't trust their roster. So Brock Lesnar comes back. He goes into this feud with John Cena, and he doesn't like the direction it went in. Lesnar was supposed to look like the monster, and he ended up looking like the punk in this whole feud. And then, essentially, we haven't seen him since. Paul Heyman comes back, and he's speaking for Lesnar, and it seems like we'll see Lesnar a couple more times, maybe, and that's it. The idea that bringing Lesnar in was a good idea, it's kind of falling flat because the storyline looks like it's going nowhere. It's leading to a Triple H versus Lesnar match at SummerSlam, but it begs the question, who cares? Who honestly cares? You hear about Lesnar wanting to go back to the UFC after, things in WWE started to not work out already. So he's a quitter. He's a punk. I would say let him go. I don't see the draw. I don't see the draw in this guy anymore. Obviously, 10 years ago, there was some kind of draw to him. And he was good back then, though you could still see the making of a quitter, of a whiner, of a punk. But now, it's reached its high for me. If I were the WWE, if I were Vince McMahon, Laurinaitis, whoever's taking care of this situation off screen, I'd let him go. Lesnar has no business in a WWE ring anymore. It's plain and simple. The feud between him and Triple H will go to SummerSlam, and where it goes after that really all depends on Lesnar. Whether he likes it or not. If he likes it, maybe it'll go farther. If he doesn't like it, then what? He goes back to the UFC, and the last 3 months in this storyline just go for nothing? So they need to figure that out. And soon, because it's a storyline that's already going nowhere and should probably just cut their losses. Alright, so this is the end of part 1. Part 2 should be coming up shortly.